Hello and welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the best Nintendo 64 emulator, in my opinion. Now, before you go commenting on this video saying, why did you not include this emulator or this emulator? Frankly, it's because I really don't care, because I found an emulator that I think suits my needs very, very well. And by the way, clickbait title aside, I really don't think there is any best Nintendo 64 emulator. It's mainly just one that suits your needs and runs well on your system. So, with that out of the way, I want to talk actually about an emulator that I kind of don't recommend unless you are extremely serious about speedrunning and plan to submit stuff to the leaderboards and all that. And that is actually probably the most popular Nintendo 64 emulator even to this day, Project 64, and especially version 1.6, which is the most popular one, mainly because it is very, very easy to run. And I will say it does have a big up in that factor. It is like very, very lag free, and most people can run it on any system no matter what. However, it does have a huge exploit, which basically allows you to install a virus if you get a bad ROM or a bad ROM hack, which is incredibly dangerous and why I cannot recommend it. It is fucking scary. And I understand as long as you just find the right website, it's really not that hard to just download ROMs that just don't have a virus embedded in them. However, it is still really bad to have this exploit on an emulator. And not only that, but I'm not even joking, later versions, like after 1.6, like before the ones, like the latest versions that are currently on the Project 64 website, but before that, like the versions I'm talking like that came out right after version 1.6, actually had malware bundled with the fucking emulator, which I'm sorry, is inexcusable. I don't know how people in the speedrunning community just kind of like brushed over this and said, it's not that big of a deal. No, it is a fucking huge deal. Like, no other emulator does this for a reason. It's fucking insane. And that is incredibly shady. And again, why I cannot recommend this. This is just really, really not good. And I understand that he's gotten rid, the developer of the emulator has gotten rid of this bundled malware in the latest versions. However, again, it's still not that trustworthy, especially because, again, it bundled malware with the emulator itself and also by default checked it to make the user that was installing the emulator install it without if they didn't read the setup guide and all that, which is insane. Like, that is incredibly insane because not only does a user have to dodge like viruses and actual ROMs, but also, viruses that even come with a fucking emulator, which is insane to think about, as I said. But probably the biggest issue that I have with Project 64 nowadays is just the 30-second pop-up that appears every single goddamn time you open the emulator, which is incredibly annoying. Like, I don't care if people say, oh, you just support the guy, and I understand that, but you can make the fucking pop-up like 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds long, but 30 seconds is just too much. Like, I'm sorry if you call me like, oh, picky and all that, but like, that is just incredibly tedious. Like, and there's a reason why basically no other emulator that I have heard of, or at least just other alternatives, do this. And that's because it's just really, really annoying. Now, let's get on to the actual topic. What is the best emulator, in my opinion? It's actually Parallel Launcher. I actually forgot the second part of the name. That's why it took me a while to say it. However, Parallel Launcher is very, very good because not only is it just very, very easy to set up everything, like the controller setup is very easy, just the user interface is also pretty simple and easy to understand. But not only that, a lot of stuff just works automatically. For example, just downloading like a ROM hack and all that, and you want to add it onto like a ROM of the original game, it is very easy to do that. You basically just have to open the ROM up. It will make a copy of that file with the ROM hack applied to the original ROM of the game, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. It is very easy to run and easily probably the best emulator for ROM hacks and mods, like just out there in general. And not only that, it even works with a lot of ROMs and mods that don't even list it as a supported emulator because it's so goddamn easy to run. A big example, and one that I'm actually currently using right now for practicing speedrunning, is actually Uzaman Uzamane, I think it's Uzamune. Uzamune is basically practice ROM that just has a lot of save states and just generally nice to have features for practicing tricks and all that. And because of that, I wanted this ROM hack, and it didn't even list Parallel Launcher as an actual supported emulator. However, it works. I downloaded it, I got it running, works perfectly fine, which is, again, really, really cool. So, again, I do highly recommend Parallel Launcher, and again, not only is it just really good for just running ROMs and hacks and all that, but just running an original game file, an original ROM, I mean, it is very, very good at that as well. So just generally, again, it is a very good all-rounder ROM, especially for Nintendo, not, yeah, for Mario 64 is what I mean. So, yeah, that is basically it. There is also, from what I've heard, Ares is also a very good emulator as well, and Mupen 64, which is also probably the second most popular Nintendo 64 emulator. So yeah, those also exist as other alternatives. However, those are a little bit harder to set up from what I've heard, especially Mupen 64. So yeah, that aside, that is basically it. I do hope that the speedrunning community does accept, even though I understand why, as I said, they require a lot of speedrunners to use Project 64 version 1.6 because again, it's very easy to run. It's not like that. It doesn't cause that many stability issues, and you don't have to go not hip hopping. What am I talking about? Flip flopping between this emulator and this emulator to see which one runs better, which one doesn't. Like, it just saves the time of having to basically just compensate for lag or just stutters in an emulator, and I understand that. However, again, it's just really not ideal, and it's why I can't really recommend Project 64 nowadays. But yeah, that is basically it, and I will see you guys later. Goodbye.